saw somebody, I think it was Kim Iverson, who's a very popular commentator on these different platforms, who was on the Hill before she was left out of a Fauci interview and then ended up quitting. Long story if you haven't heard it, but she just tweeted something about how doctors aren't the problem. They're just being pressured by these special interests. And I'm like thinking to myself, that's not true. Doctors are also the problem. I mean, they're willingly going along with a lot of this stuff. Same with journalists, journalists.
Allison,
Yeah, go ahead.
let me just say,
Please.
doctors are a huge part of the problem. Are they being pressured? Are they being threatened? Are they being paid in order to be silent? 100%. But you know what? We're either moral people or we're not. And if just because you're being subjected to some pressure doesn't relieve you of any kind of moral responsibility for your choices and decisions. I mean, that's outrageous. So these doctors are being threatened with losing their licenses. They are being silenced by their state licensing boards. The Federation of State Licensing Boards has told people that if they say anything, told doctors that if they say anything that differs from CDC's diktats with respect to the COVID narrative, that they can be hauled in front of the state licensing board and remove their licenses. Most physicians, I think it's 90% of physicians today, are associated with a hospital, so a hospital system. And the hospitals have been very clear. You either get the shot and you either shut up or we'll let you go. But listen, at the end of the day, atrocities happen when good people are silent. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what happens. And so these doctors are culpable.
Obviously, there's been a lot of talk for quite a while about the White House having colluded with tech companies. There's several lawsuits out about that. And there's just been more information that's come out as I guess the discovery process has been going on about what that's looked like. And one of the latest is that there were these weekly meetings, allegedly. Like, this is saying another email from April 2021 shows a scheduled meeting for White House staffers to be briefed by Twitter on vaccine misinfo. And still another record from July 28th shows Facebook official proposing to a CDC counterpart that in addition to our weekly meetings, doing a monthly misinfo debunking meeting with maybe claim topics communicated a few days prior so that you can bring in the matching experts and chat casually for 30 minutes. So yeah, we would love to do that, CDC says. So like literally they're meeting weekly to talk about, what the rules should be. Just curious about your thoughts on these lawsuits.
I just think it's heartbreaking. I think the lawsuits have great potential of prevailing because clearly when government colludes with private business, there's a word for that, and it's called fascism. That's what it is. The marriage of the corporate sector and the government. It's illegal. It's wrong. It's un-American. There is no place for it in a decent or democratic society. So, I mean, all Americans should be disgusted by this, and it needs to go away, obviously. And I think that the lawsuits have a great chance of prevailing. I think it's important, though, for people to also understand that this is something that we all need to push back against, right? This is so outrageous, so egregious. They have been telling us for 2 years, we weren't colluding. We didn't meet. We didn't have any conference calls. We didn't have any conversations. We weren't telling them what to do or anything like that. In fact, some lawsuits were thrown out of court a year and a half, 2 years ago, saying, there's no evidence the government was instructing private actors to do anything. And now it's all come out. It's all there in black and white from FOIAs and from discovery, from lawsuits, that they were in fact colluding and have been doing so all along. The government also, we know, had given $1 billion to the media in order to portray the narrative as they wanted it portrayed and to target individuals who were pushing back. So this is really, I think, one of the greatest scandals that has ever befallen our country. And I just hope that it can be rectified, and potentially the best place to do that is in the courts, but it's not the only place. Americans need to get, ticked off and stand up and demand change. And maybe that will help us. I sure hope so.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like at the end of the day, people have to care and not cheer the government's, pressure in this regard. And to me, the next level scandal from what you just described is like journalists, for instance, or doctors and scientists, like we just talked about, cheering this on and thinking this is a good thing. I mean, to me, that's that's almost as disconcerting as the fact that it's happening itself, is that there are large swaths of the population that see no danger in heading down this
Mhm.
path and think this is actually a good thing, and that this is done in the name of public safety, and nothing could possibly go wrong with it. This is really what we need for public health. To me, that's almost worse, I think, just because if it was just the White House, that's just one, it's an administration, right? But if it's like a
Yeah.
huge amount of the population of people that are in charge, and a lot of them in institutions that have a lot of power, to me, that's even more concerning. So we'll see what happens. Leslie, thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Allison, it's been great to be with you. And, to anybody who's out there watching who wants to support this work, please go to healthfreedomdefense.org and support our mission. Thanks so much.
Don't forget that if you are suing your employer over a mandate, it gets stressful and you probably need a good drink at the end of the day, which is why you should go to AllisonWinePromo.com and get 50% off of my favorite Malbecs from very remote regions of Argentina, and you get 50% off shipping. It's an excellent way to support my work. My sponsors keep me in business, as do you when you support them. And it's also a great way to have a great glass of wine. Again, like I said, these are from remote regions of Argentina and all high altitude. One's actually an extreme altitude Malbec from almost 9,000 feet. These are not the kind of wines that you can get at the grocery store, and you get a great deal on them while also supporting my work. So if you're a wine drinker already, go to AllisonWinePromo.com and get yourself some of the best wine out there. However, if you're waking up every day and you're like, geez, I got a lot of paperwork to read through as I sue my employer over this mandate, then go to twinenginecoffee.com/Allison and get some USDA certified organic Nicaraguan roasts. These are also high altitude, as it turns out. There are light roasts, there's dark roasts, there's a limited black edition, which is very good. And there's also a tea. If you're a tea drinker, you can get the Caturra tea. It's tea that you brew with the fruit around the coffee bean. I really like it. I'm actually making kombucha with mine. I've said this before. It's a lot like a black tea. So whatever you do with black tea, this would be great. You can cold brew it, hot brew it. I like to cold brew mine 24 hours. Lower caffeine, high antioxidants. Great way to enjoy the rest of what's left of the summer.